The boardroom of Apex Dynamics in Austin, Texas, 2025, reeked of polished oak and the sharp tang of cheap perfume, a veneer of power masking the rot beneath. The words still burned in my ears. "We've decided to terminate your position, Elise. Pack your things immediately." The chairman, Harold Vance, 58, delivered the blow with a rehearsed sneer, his gray eyes avoiding mine. Around the table, the board's faces, smirking, smug, or studiously blank, watched me like vultures circling a kill. I, Elise Morgan, 39, the chief strategist who'd turned their failing tech firm into a market leader, simply smiled, gathered my notes, and walked out. Silence was my sharpest blade, and I'd honed it for years. Once I'd been the eager protege, hand-picked by the CEO, Victor Langston, a visionary who saw what others missed. "You don't just follow orders, Elise," he'd said, his voice warm with belief. "You calculate. That's rare." I gave him my best years, nights spent rewriting failing strategies, weekends securing deals that saved Apex from collapse. His trust was my currency, his faith my armor. But the board despised it, their jealousy festering. Victor's illness, pancreatic cancer, kept secret, changed everything. As he wasted away in a private hospital, I stayed by his side, managing Apex while the board schemed. His final act, hands trembling, was to sign a sealed document. 51% of Apex transferred to me. "Don't let them win," he whispered, eyes fierce despite the pain. I promised I wouldn't. The board's betrayal came a week after his funeral. In the same boardroom where Victor once praised me, Harold's voice cut like ice. "Your services are no longer needed." No one met my gaze, not Cynthia, the CFO, who'd envied my rise, nor Paul, the COO, who'd mocked my overzealous loyalty. They thought I'd beg, rage, or spill Victor's secret gift. They expected weakness. Instead, I nodded, packed my laptop, and left, their smirks fueling me. They believed they'd stripped my power. They didn't know they'd just handed me the stage. Grief sharpened my focus. Over the weekend, in my downtown loft, I pored over Victor's papers, memorizing every clause of the transfer agreement. Airtight, notarized, filed with the state. I owned 51% of Apex, their empire now mine. But I didn't want just control. I wanted their humiliation, the kind that lingers like a bruise. So I waited, letting them bask in their victory. They announced my departure with a press release, strategic realignment at Apex Dynamics. Whispers spread through the office. Elise is done, washed up. Colleagues avoided me on the street, their pity thinly veiled. Every glance stoked my fire. I moved in shadows. First, I assembled a team of discreet lawyers, loyal to Victor's memory, who verified the transfer's invincibility. Then I dug into the board's secrets. For months, I'd noticed discrepancies, missing funds, contracts awarded to obscure vendors. Using Victor's old access codes, still active in their arrogance, I traced the rot. Harold had siphoned $3 million into offshore accounts. Cynthia had funneled deals to her brother's startup. Paul had buried kickbacks in consulting fees. Emails, bank records, metadata, I collected them like a jeweler, each piece a gem of their betrayal. My evidence was a vault, locked and ready. The quarterly board meeting, where they'd parade Apex's record profits to investors, was my moment. I walked in unannounced, my badge, never deactivated, granting entry. The room froze, their chatter dying. Harold leaned back, faking calm, his smile a grimace. "You're not supposed to be here, Elise." I placed the transfer document on the table, its notarized seal gleaming. "My chair," I said, nodding at his seat. He moved, face ashen, lips tight. I let the silence stretch, savoring their unease. Then I projected my evidence onto the boardroom screen. Bank transfers, incriminating emails, signatures tying them to the theft. Their faces cracked, Harold's bravado gone, Cynthia's hands trembling, Paul's eyes darting for an exit. "This is a setup," Harold blurted. I didn't flinch. Cross-check the server logs, the metadata's intact. Investors leaned forward, sensing blood. I gave the board a choice: resign quietly, surrender your shares, or face criminal charges. My lawyers slid resignation letters across the table, pre-drafted, pens waiting. No one spoke. One by one they signed, their hands shaking, their empire slipping away. The investors' murmurs grew, some shocked, others hungry for the fallout. Harold's pen snapped in his grip, ink staining his fingers. As the last signature landed, I stood, the boardroom's oak table reflecting my shadow. "You thought you buried me?" I said, voice low. "You didn't realize I was the ground you stood on." I walked out, their silence louder than their earlier smirks. By evening, X was ablaze. Apex board ousted in stunning coup. The news detailed their fraud. My evidence leaked strategically to trusted reporters. Harold faced charges, Cynthia's assets were frozen, and Paul vanished, his career ash. I took Victor's old office, not as a trophy, but a promise kept. Apex thrived under my lead. New talent replacing the old guard, investors doubling down on my vision. Colleagues who'd pitied me now sought my advice, their respect hard-earned. At night, I'd pass the boardroom, its empty chairs a reminder of Victor's final words: "Don't let them win." I hadn't. Revenge wasn't loud, no fireworks, no shouting. It was the quiet dismantling of those who thought me small. Monday, as I sat at the head of the table, signing contracts for Apex's next chapter, I smiled. It wasn't just fun, it was victory, carved with silence, patience, and precision.